Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for attending the PASSHE West virtual session. Today we have ADP, and joining us is Casey Folks. So Casey, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you too.
So Casey, in getting started, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role within your organization.
Yeah, so I've been with ADP a decade. So I just hit that mark a few months ago. I'm very proud of that as a former job hopper. And I just been recruiting with ADP for inside sales, outside sales, sales leadership across the country for a majority of business units out there. So anything dealing with sales at ADP, I'm on it.
Great, thank you so much, and congratulations on that mark, that milestone. So what do you find that employees, interns like best about your organization?
I would say the people and the culture. We always try to hire really great people, and that affects the vibe and the environment and your business, and how everything rolls. So I think we hire great people. People have often become, best friends. A lot of people that they work with, very close. And the culture, ADP rocks it in culture. I would even say sometimes we try to overdo it, They're always trying to be the best, and they're always just trying to do things to engage with employees. And I just think they do an awesome job at that. And that's what I think.
And that's why, yes. So that's great. And talking about the company culture, what do you feel makes your organization, in your opinion, unique from other companies?
Oh, unique. So it's so hard. I guess, we really, I don't know if it's really so much unique, or maybe it is these days unique, but we definitely try to have a play hard, work hard mentality, in a positive way, of course. ADP realizes you have a life, and work is hard and stress is hard. So they try to do things in the culture to make it fun. So we had a water pong competition. That was hilarious, hydrate and just kind of take a break from the day and kind of stress and just kind of reconnect and have a game and make fun out of it. I thought that was really cool. We do a lot of contests, and we make it salesy, like Family Feud and bingo and poker. They're very creative. The leaders and the reps come up with a lot of ideas, and people vote on it. I think they're very creative with that. Super. They're a hoot.
That sounds like a really great atmosphere to be a part of. So, in looking at your organization, what is something that most people don't know or would be surprised to learn about your organization?
For me, to talk more on the ADP and product side of things, a lot of people recognize us as a payroll company, as they should, because on the user end, a lot of people, when they see our name, it's on their paychecks or their tax forms. So they view it that way, and we don't advertise. We don't do billboards or radio. We do it at a small degree in the corporate headquarters, or just any kind of advertising. So people just naturally just think of us as a payroll company. But actually, we are a full service human capital provider on a global scale. So anything dealing with employees, including payroll, we're on it.
That's great. And really great information to know, because like, as you said, people may have an idea from what they might, their typical experience. So it goes much more beyond that. So let's talk about opportunities. Tell us about the opportunities within your organization for alumni, soon to be alumni, or current students.
Yeah, so ADP, being a global company, we have every business role under the sun here. So if you're not from the area or you're moving back home, please check out our website. But specific to the Pittsburgh market is we really have an inside sales office here in the Robinson area of Pittsburgh. And we have 8 divisions for inside sales. And it's kind of broken out based on employee size and some business units there. But we really just recruit for inside sales people is really our focus. And in terms of what I look for, like in the resume and cover letter, is I'm looking for frontline people that are I'm not afraid to reach out to a diversity of people that are in different seasons of their life and different personalities and different moods. And they just like being front line. Like they'll just melt if they're not with people and they're not involved in kind of the people aspect of things. Because salespeople, you can't have fear in talking to people. So I look for people that have waitress, that have bartended, anything that's front line, I want to call them.
Great. Thank you so much for that insight and information, because I think it's important to highlight, experiences that you look for in a candidate, especially ones that can be highlighted on a resume or cover letter. So kind of continuing that conversation, what are some tips that you have as far as things that people should do or not do in an interview?
Yeah, that's so hard. There's so many variables, I think, but just some initial things. I think, first of all, you just want to prepare. In any kind of interview setting, you want to prepare, especially if you're a frontline person, you're like, oh, I'm so used to talking to people. I'm so used to pulling stories and information that you wing it. And I've done it myself and I've regretted it. I've done it externally, interviewing, and internally within my company, and I've regretted it. So you just want to prepare. You want to take a pen and pad and zen out. Play your ocean waves or any calming music and reflect. Why would I honestly hire myself? Honestly. What have I done in my job? Like, write out your duties. What have I done? How have I done them well? How have I grown? And really work through that in every organization, job that you ever worked with. And that gives you content, because sometimes when people just graduate, they're very generic. You're like pulling teeth. You have to ask second, third level questions to get the actual information, because I always view interviewing like speed dating. They want to get past the superficial fluff of the weather and sports. They want to get right to the core. And that's a little hard to do if you haven't turned your brain on, because somebody's like, hey, tell me about a time you're resilient. Oh, okay. That's just, it's just too hard to be specific when you haven't turned your brain on. So I think the biggest thing, no matter what job you're going for sales or any company, is really to reflect on your resume so you can speak to it with content. Like more, more specifics.
Mm-hmm. Great. That is fantastic advice, because we definitely, that preparation is so important. And as somebody who interviews or as a recruiter, you can definitely tell if somebody in the interview is not prepared. So that preparation is key. So when you're looking at a candidate, you talked a little bit about experiences and some things about a resume and cover letter. Can you go a little bit more in depth about the different types of skills that you look for in a candidate, for somebody who would be successful in a sales position?
Verbal and written skills, I'm looking at that. People that, I guess verbal written skills are just so high emotional intelligence. That's a big one. You mentioned when we talked in the beginning, having flexibility. Like, life is hard, and you have to have empathy, and you have to be able to not just get caught up in your fight and flight mode, not get caught up in this chatter in your mind and based off your agenda and your tunnel vision of what's your life. Life is very complicated out there. And so I think high emotional intelligence is really important. People really value that, especially now. They really, really value somebody that can just kind of step back, not always just kind of pushing, but step back, but still be present, with people and walk through people and hear people and listen to people. So, I'm always kind of looking for roles and keywords like that. Obviously, I'm looking for any kind of sales experience or sales internships or anything that says you did it and you still want to be in it, because in sales, you receive a lot of rejection. So that's another thing as well. I look for roles where you might have been rejected a lot. Even if you were a vice president of your sorority, well, you have to get members and you have to speak to your sorority. You have to handle objections and your reputation in the on campus. You have to overcome those things. You have to sell your sorority, and some people are going to accept and some people are going to reject. And so any kind of role where you receive a lot of rejection and you still push through, you don't shut down. So I kind of look for things of that nature.
Great. Thank you so much. Those were great examples, especially relating it to on-campus activities that a student might be involved in, because we always get that question. I'm involved in a sorority, a service organization, a fraternity. Should I put that on my resume? So
Yeah.
we always
If
get
you
that
help with,
question.
if you're trying to apply to sales and you helped with membership, put it on there, you know? I helped drive membership, even if you weren't like a vice president or a president, you know, I would list that.
Great, thank you so much. So we do have some questions in the chat, so I'll
Great.
go to Chrissy. Chrissy, if you could let us know some of the questions that you have.
Sure, thank you. Yes. So Casey, they're asking, is mentorship training provided on ADP's products? If so, how long is that program? And if there's anything that a new hire should or intern should expect from that?
Yes, we have an 8-week training program, and it's a high level, like you'll virtual trainers that do a high level overview of everything ADP, because we're so big and have so much that goes on into it. And then they start to narrow it down to your business unit and what's specifics to you. And then you're also working with your manager, and you also have a mentor, you know, because your manager might be doing a lot of other things. So your mentor is your go-to person. And a lot of times they sign up for it. The majority of the time they do, and they want to do well. They want you to be successful. And that a lot of times it's tied to their leadership training program there. So you can call them a million times, they're not going to get annoyed with you. And then really the mentor really pops in the most when you start after that 8 weeks, because that's when everything, you're trying to pull it all together and they really help you. So I was in the office and I heard a mentor tell a mentee, like, hey, I know what you're saying, but that's, here's a simpler way of saying it. You know, let's kind of, and they kind of practice that, and he ended up getting a sale, you know, his first sale in the next few days. So I thought that was really cool. So, and then really, you know, your teammates are doing the exact same thing that you're doing, but in different territories. So they're always there to support you. And training never ends at ADP. We're kind of like the Army. There's always a training, you know, you know, it never ends. Like I said, I've been here 10 years and I told my manager, like, oh, too many trainings, a lot of trainings, you know. So we're on the other end of the spectrum. Maybe we ever
can. With that, is there, when you said about the, you know, the training doesn't necessarily end, but if there's a mentorship, is there a time period for that mentorship?
I think for ADP, not really. It's just kind of when the questions fade, you know, just, you get to a point where you're just doing your thing, you know? So there's really not a set thing on it. So it's kind of when it fades and you just kind of start moving on, you know? But your mentor's always there for you. I mean, I was best friends with my mentor for years, even when we weren't always working in different spaces, you know? We got moved around. I'd be like, hey, did you hear about this or that? And we always just kind of stayed connected on stuff like that.
Oh, that's wonderful to have that connection then. Some additional questions. It appears that you're able to work remotely. Are there additional remote opportunities?
Good question. I can't answer that on a global level and on a even in the US, it's really based off business unit and based off the location. So I don't have any information about it. What I can say is, you know, we spent a lot of money on the building and upgrading it. We just went through a lot of construction. So yeah, they're all working from home because they sell virtually. So really, it wasn't too big of a transition, but I'm assuming they're going to make everybody go back to that when it makes sense based off of family and just all the COVID stuff and when everything kind of aligns. But I'm assuming we will go back to the office there because they feel that the culture is stronger when you're in the office together. So pros and cons of both. I have worked from home for 10, 12 years and I 50% hate it and I 50% love it, you know? So when the same thing in the office, you know, they 50% love it, 50% hate it. You switch things out. Whatever you get from home, you miss from the office. Whatever you hate at the office, you get from home. You know, it just kind of really, there's challenges to both and there's pros to both.
Good. And so I'm guessing with everyone working remotely, I think that was probably how a lot of like ADP responded to the pandemic is a lot of people did work remotely for your organization.
Yes, they just put everybody remote. Yeah, okay. I was always remote, but I recruit all over the country. So I have a little different setup that I kind of negotiated because I was working West Coast hours, you know, like if you want me to work West Coast hours, you know, the workload was too much, you know, so I negotiated that. But But yeah, they just put everybody to work from home, and again, a lot of them loved it and hoping to keep it, and a lot of them are like, get me out of here, depending on kids and neighbors and family members, because working from home is hard. You have to have a work environment conducive to an office environment,
Mm-hmm.
You have kids crying in the background, like if you hear me right now, and dogs barking in the middle, so it's very distracting to work from home. You have to be extremely disciplined with that. I personally couldn't have done it right out of school,
Hey, I agree. It might have been a little bit challenging to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We did have some additional questions come in. So what does a typical day look like at ADP after the initial training is complete?
Yeah, so it's Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5. And a lot of times people right out of school will start off in our small business division. And that's basically calling on businesses that have 1 to 49 employees. And you're selling our HR solutions to them. You're doing it all through the phone and computer from the office. And you'll make 20 to 80 outbound calls a day. It's a mix of calling new businesses as well as upselling existing accounts. And then you'll also be doing a lot of online demos with clients. And that's showing them the technology side of things. It just goes over people's head. They just need to see it. So you shoot them a link, they click on it, and you screen share. Say, hey, this is how you can see how much payroll you paid out this month, this quarter, this year, and how much 401k you matched this month, this quarter, this year. And here's how you can do your I-9 forms electronically. And basically show them how they can streamline and be more mobile on the go, with what we offer, instead of spending 20 hours a week trying to do that. And that really affects the business, because 90% of businesses go under after the second, third year because they don't learn to manage their company. You can't do everything yourself, even though they really try. And I have deep empathy for that. My husband's a small business owner, and so is his friends. And I mean, not his friends, his family. They're like entrepreneurs, ride or die, and that they have like 10 businesses. So I see it on the back end, and you just get to a point where you have to either hire, outsource, or do both. We just want to talk to them about the outsourcing option.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now with that working, what's the work-life balance?
Yeah, so that's what a lot of people love about inside sales compared to outside sales. So outside sales is still awesome. I recruit for it as well, but specific to this area, outside sales, you have flexibility, but you're working all the time because of it, and inside sales is like 8:35, Monday through Friday, it's 40 hours a week. It's a stampede at 5, and people like that, because it's just it's structured. So pros and cons of structure and flexibility, but when you're in the field all the time, you're driving. You cannot multitask like you can in inside sales. You can do like 10 things at once. You're driving the field, that's too dangerous, a lot of liability with that, and hurting yourself and others. And also you just can't input information. I could talk to people on the phone and type, get everything in. And so it just streamlines a lot of things. So you have a better work-life balance because of that. Because they have to go home at night and put all the conversations they had, all the stuff they did that day has to, they have to input it in the system.
Great. Thank you. I think those are the questions we have so far. If anyone does, oh wait, we did have another one. What is it that you like about ADP?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I worked for 3 small businesses, like right outside of school. And also to know, and this relates to this, I'm sorry to bounce around, but when I graduated college, I graduated in the recession. So even though we don't have the health part, I do understand the stress of finding a job. It's very real. And I was like, who's gonna hire me? They're laying everybody off. They're shutting down, and everyone's going bankrupt. And it was just crazy, And so I feel your pain there, but I did bounce around to a few small businesses, and they were great and I got great experience. But I think something that I just really, I guess with ADP is there's a lot of incentives here that are great. It's a big company. There's a lot of great benefits. I love that, that I never really got that in other companies. I also love, because I'm a big finance person, I believe in you really have the control of your money and destiny on that. And what I love about ADP is they're very, like when we had all the coronavirus stuff, ADP didn't lay off everybody because we're very financially savvy. We don't blow money. We're very conservative with our money. We don't have a lot of debt. They're very, very conservative with their money. And I found that very attractive for them. So, and it bounced back to incentives. Like my manager was like, hey, you've rocked it. I better not see you online on Friday. Take the day off. You don't have to track on your vacation. Just bye. You've done a lot for us and your team. And that's what I mean by incentive. It's not really money or monetary. It's just appreciation, I guess. Maybe is a better word.
Yeah.
Like, thank you. And just, relating to the coronavirus, and then what I like about ADP is during this whole coronavirus stuff, even though we were still working, they realized like we have kids, some of us have kids at home and spouses and roommates, or maybe you're living with your family, It's very hard to work, and it's very stressful to maintain that office work environment. And, and they told us take 5 days off, take 5 mental health days. Everybody just take 5 days off. We don't want anybody to have a heart attack or, we want everyone to have good mental health. Just take 5 days off and, just enjoy your family and relax, and it'll be okay. That was cool.
Wow, fantastic. Thanks. So right now we don't have additional questions, but if anyone does, please feel free to enter them in the chat here. But thank you for those fantastic questions. We do appreciate the questions that have come in so far.
Absolutely. And thank you all for joining, and anybody on the video. I love Westpac Career Fair. So when I see like every year, I tell my boss, I'm like, but I have a budget for Westpac Career Fair. And if I have to choose, it's Westpac Career Fair. So we have so many great hires. I've had a lot of managers that I met as sales reps that are now leaders that I try to bring with me to the Westpac Career Fair. So you guys do a great job, and I just love to be able to meet everybody in that setting. And thank you for that. It makes it a lot easier. Nice.
Wonderful. And those that are joining us, if you're not familiar with, if you've not been to a Westpac's fair, clearly it's a good choice. We do run a fair in the fall and in the spring, so 2 a year every year in Monroeville. But that's wonderful that that's good success stories coming out of Westpac's. Good to hear.
Yeah, it's just a nice kind of one-stop shop place for me. And anybody that I missed at other career fairs I went to, I usually kind of see them there. Like I couldn't come to the other because I was like, hey, did you go to this one? I didn't see you. No, I couldn't go. And so we go to this one. So I think it's nice for the students. They like it. Options for them to meet with employees. Through their school and then through that.
Yes. We did actually have another question come in. What actually is your degree in, and how does it relate to your position now?
Yeah, so I went to WVU, and I did a business and marketing degree. I was just like, I love people, I love frontline, I love this, I don't know. So I just kind of went business marketing, and 80% of marketing majors go into sales. So I guess maybe I didn't think of sales initially. Like I wasn't like, I want to be in sales, I just figured I'd just go with business. Life is, business is business, so I figured if I just learn about that, I'll figure out where I need to go. And I worked all these frontline jobs, and everybody said, if you graduate college, go into sales. And then when I graduated, there was no sales jobs, because everybody was laying off. But there was a recruiting firm that said, hey, we recruit, and it's very salesy. Recruit is sales, so I'm a company and myself. And so I just went down that lane, and it's been great. But in terms of my degree, I think it is related. Because like I said, a lot of marketing people do go into sales, just because there's not a lot of sales degrees out there, minors. So a lot of times people tend to go that direction, but it doesn't matter your degree. I've seen it all. I've seen people that their degrees match up and that's the direction they go. And I see people, they're like, nah, and they go a different direction, and that's okay. You'll be fine.
Great, thank you very much. Right now we don't have any additional questions, so if Bridget, there's additional things that you want to check in with?
Sure. If there are questions, in the next minute or two, we'll definitely take those questions. But, as we come to a close, what is one piece of information or advice that you have for students that you want to leave them with as we, end our time together?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I just, in these kind of high times, whether, COVID or coronavirus or not, it's very stressful to transition from college life into finding a job. And you're probably putting a lot of stress and pressure on you, and maybe your friends and family are as well. And I just encourage you to just kind of channel that and and just tell yourself, I'm doing the best that I can, you know, just get out there and make connections, but don't pressure yourself, you know, I'm doing the best that I can. I'm trying to figure out my life. It will all come together. I did not, what I forgot to mention, when I graduated college, I didn't find a job until 8 months later, my first job. So just throw that out there with the whole recession. I mean, I did some side gigs on the thing, you know, side, but actually starting my career, it wasn't, that recruiting firm I mentioned wasn't until 8 or 9 months later, okay? And so you just have to do what you have to do right now. Please meditate and pray, or, you know, whatever you need to do for your spirit, part of your mind, body, and spirit. And just, you know, I'm doing my best, and I'm going to keep moving forward. I'm going to keep going, and something's going to happen for me, you know. Just, you know, sometimes we just put pressure on ourselves, and it just makes everything harder, you know. So, you know, try to keep a positive attitude. Just in anything, in any storm, the storm ends, you know, and then the sun comes out. You'll see rainbows, and, you know, it'll all come where it needs to be for you. Maybe it isn't right now. Maybe it won't be next week or in a few months or a year, like how I did. But, you know, just keep being positive and being a good person, and doors will open up. Promise.
Great, thank you so much. And that is really great parting advice as we close our session today. I'll just check one more time to see if we have any questions from those that are attending. It doesn't look like that we do, so this will be the end of our session. Thank you so much for everybody attending today. Casey, thank you so much to you for joining us today. We know that you're busy, so we appreciate the time that you gave to us to talk about ADP and all the great opportunities and really the amazing company that you work for. So you'll see that on the screen, Casey's name, but also the ADP website where you can take a look at some jobs is up on the screen. So thank you all so much, and stay well.
It's my pleasure. Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much.